Welcome, everybody, back to Tanya for Life. We are in chapter 12. We had just started last class. So I think I'll give a tiny little bit of a recap of where we're up to in our Tanya adventures. Basically, what we've learned so far is the fact that every single person that comes down to the world, every single Jew, is of a different soul rank. So when we look at our partners, when we look at our children, acquaintances, people in the community, there's no one, clients, there's no one who can be judged on the same level. Pretty much we shouldn't be judging at all. We shouldn't be judging ourselves or others. And we're learning why, because really everyone's born into a different level, a different makeup. And the basic difference between us all is the soul level rank that we're born into. Some people are born into the rank of Rasha Varalo, Rasha Vatovlo, the Benoni. We have the Tzadik Varalo, Tzadik Vatovlo. These are these are already 5 levels, and within them there's many degrees, many variations. So people are born into different soul ranking. What we've also learned through Tanya is that yes, there are lower rankings and higher rankings, lower and higher in terms of how we perceive Hashem, not in who's better or not. It's more so a Rasha sees Hashem less in their life, and a tzaddik, their life is dedicated to Hashem, so all they see is Hashem, pretty much. A tzaddik gamor, a tzaddik tovlo, and there's all the levels in between. So what we've also learned in Tanya is that we can actually work on changing or developing or reaching the next soul level, a greater, higher degree of noticing Hashem in our life. So we can actually move what we were born in, that soul rank that we were born in, and move into a higher rank and be on a different level now. That our challenges are not the same, that the way we see things are completely different because now we've shifted on a soul level. And that's what Tanya is helping us to do. So the way that we've learned how to basically do that is first by understanding the different forces within us. And we learned about the physical drives, the physical body, how it's related to the animal soul, the soul of materialism, and biological function, and pretty much anything that's not godly in essence. I mean, everything is godly in essence, but godly direction, drive. And the godly soul, which is literally specifically a piece of Hashem, an open part of Hashem. So that relationship with Hashem is face to face, whereas the nefesh, also known as the nefesh yisodi, the animal soul, is sort of from the back, not from the face of Hashem, but from the back in a way. So by a Rasha is one who's dominated by this backside soul. So this expression of them that's very material, very based on the way of the world, on emotions or intellect that's completely mundane or unholy. And the other side, the higher realm, where many people talk about being in a higher state of being, it refers to being more in contact and having your godly soul more dominant. So in a Jew, we've got both of these souls. I'm not so sure the anatomy of non-Jews yet, but I definitely want to learn more. At the moment, this is where we're at. And by focusing more and more on making our godly soul dominant, we're able to transcend the realm that we live in, this entire world that we live in, is a world of klipa, the lowest world of creation, of materiality. And we're able to even bring the materiality into the higher level of being holy, right? So even creating a dwelling place for Hashem within this material world, within the lowest of the low, spiritually. So this is what we're looking for. And right now we're learning about the Benoni. We have learned already about the Rasha, different levels of Rasha. We've learned about the different levels of Tzaddik. And now we're looking at the Benoni, the one who's in between. And what does that mean? How do we get there? Because again, the Alter Rebbe says that this level is attainable for every single person. It's within everyone's makeup, no matter what level we were born onto. So we shouldn't, first of all, we shouldn't judge ourselves by this place, because the Benoni is an incredibly high level, but it is something that we should keep our hopes up for, which something that we should definitely be inspired by, because eventually we will reach there. We will be able to reach there if we're meant to be. Having said that, I do also want to remind everyone that this isn't our first life. So to some people, it may be their entire mission in this world is to be on the level, the soul rank of the Rasha V'Tovlo, let's say, that he's constantly under, usually under the dominion of the animal soul, and getting all these thoughts. And his whole avodah is to push away the thoughts, push away these unholy, mundane thoughts. And him doing that is a specific avodah, which is incredibly holy, incredibly desirable to Hashem. And he's doing something for the whole world. He's keeping the whole world alive by pushing away these thoughts. And if this is all he does in his life, then wonderful. In terms of if this is all his avodah amounts to, with davening, with all the mitzvahs that he can keep, but as well as pushing these things away, that's wonderful. If you can do that, that's wonderful. And that's a struggle, and it's very difficult, and it's very hard, and Hashem knows. So if that's his journey, beautiful. He should not judge himself by the level of a Benoni. He should judge himself by his own level, which is knowing that he'll fall, but accepting it and doing teshuvah regularly, and asking for Hashem's help to change, learning Torah to change, davening to change, to bring his godly soul to be more dominant. And he can do that. We learned in the last chapter that once someone sins, your godly soul has a certain power to immediately push to the surface after a person has sinned, which you would expect would be the other way around, that the neshama can't come up after you've sinned. But no, there's a moment where as soon as you've sinned and you feel this remorse, this regret, it comes from your godly soul. The regret comes from your godly soul. And that is something to tap into. The more and more we tap into that, the more and more able we are to see our godly soul and to bring it more to life, to fan the flames of its existence. So definitely no one should be judging themselves by any means. And yes, the Alter Rebbe says that we can reach the level of Benoni, but just be aware that, please don't judge yourself harshly, because it's hard to reach. Most people only reach the level of Benoni when they're ready to pass from this world. So, that's what Miriam was telling me, that we're constantly working on different areas of our life, constantly working on our personality. So it's not something that you just gain like this. And it's not something to see as a bad thing, the fact that we're not on that level yet. So definitely. I hope that's helped anyone listening. Um, so now let's get into the Benoni. And again, remember that the Benoni is pretty much like a tzaddik, pretty much a tzaddik, um, to anyone looking at him. What he goes through though is constant inner battle, constant battle, because his animal soul is strong and his desire for worldly is strong. So he fights it. And what distinguishes him as a Benoni is that his expression, his thought, speech, and action are never anything less than holy. He never allows any of this inner struggle, the inner conflict, to amount to anything in his expression. And that's wonderful. If you think about, what we've learned in CBTT, a lot of the time people are hurting, people are in pain, and there's so much love needs to be given from themselves. People need to people need love. We all need love, and we need to share it because other people need love from us, just like we want love from them. But sometimes it can be hard to keep that message going if we're hurting ourselves. And one thing that we learn from the Benoni is it is possible. In fact, it is a desired place to be when we can still be kind, even if we're hurting, where we can still give love, even if we're sad. We can still be happy, we can still smile, we can still be present with the person in front of us, even when there's craziness going inside. Or whatever we're going through inside doesn't have to be displayed on the outside. And that gives us self-respect. Actually, it gives us privacy, and it gives us a space where we can remind ourselves that we're only human. Our battles are not our entire life. Something Gedalia Spencer says is that we can learn to major on major things because mostly we major on minor things. So if we're always looking at expressing what's inside always to the outside, then it's very up and down, it's not stable, and there's a lot of minor things that will always come to the surface. We make a lot of issues. In my experience, I've made a lot of issues on small trivial problems because I've been so attached to the bigger problems, and feeling like it's not an expression of my true self to be sharing something, to be sharing anything other than what I'm feeling on the inside. And so here we're learning, no, that's the level of existing that's closer to the Rasha Betovlo level, let's say, or Ralo, because they're expressing from their animal soul. We want to be expressing from our godly soul. And so it does take a level of pushing down, crushing down. And something I've felt through CBTT is that all of my issues, all of my problems end up healing through what I'm doing in this present moment, through what I'm doing, learning Torah, davening, doing as many mitzvot as I can, meditating, doing all of this, these Torah tools, like Miriam says, Torah tools. It's helped me to recover without having to lay it all out on the table to everyone in front of me. So being able to recover within myself, but actually being, consistently, B'ezrat Hashem, hopefully more and more, being able to be, a person with midot tavot, good midot, being displayed to especially, my closest family members and family and friends. It's where the real job begins. A lot of the time we can be nice to people outside, but when we're nice to our family members or our close friends, that's the real test. So here we're going to learn a bit more about the Benoni and how he can have such strength of character to choose the godly soul, and act with it every single time, because there's no moment that a Benoni acts, thinks, or speaks from the level of his animal soul. So only at specific times do the faculties of the divine soul hold undisputed sovereignty over the Benoni, with the animal soul having no effect whatsoever on him, such as during the recital of Shema or Amida in his davening, basically. So we learned that the Benoni has to constantly fight with his animal soul, that he does have the urges, he does have the initial body reaction to a trauma trigger or whatever, let's say, but he never acts on it. There are times when he doesn't have to fight or go through this trauma, this feeling, the natural reactions of the animal soul. And remember, all of that means all the elements in negative expression, unholy expression, which means water element, lustfulness, desire, thoughts of desiring things, feelings of wanting to act on lust, afar, earth, sadness, melancholy, heaviness, overwhelm, fire, anger, arrogance, haughtiness, jealousy, and judgment, and over restriction, restricting, restraining in a negative way. And the other one was air. So air in terms of speaking too much, a lot of, expressing a lot, but not filtering oneself, and not not refined expression. So all of this is what the Benoni does experience and have to go through constantly, like all the time, except in specific times when he's not attacked by his animal soul. He doesn't have to constantly be vigilant and fighting it, when he can actually relax and be peaceful in his connection with his godly soul and Hashem straight. And that is during the Shema, during Amidah, when he's praying. Why is this? Because as the Alter Rebbe continues to write, the time of prayer is the time when the supernal intellect of above, Hashem, is in a sublime state. It is in a time of great illuminations in the higher world. Moichin de Gadlut. Okay. Wow. This is phenomenal. So we have this concept of Moichin Kadnut and Moichin Gadlut. So Moichin Kadnut, we were just talking earlier, some of the women, we were mentioning how some people, all of us actually, every person can go through what's called small-mindedness. I mean, we didn't put the term on it, but I'm putting it in now. Small-mindedness, it's essentially a time of constriction, a time of franticness. Miriam's talked about when the mind goes on frazzle mode, pretty much shut down, and we're not able to think our way through very well in situations that we may really need to be using our mind, but just can't use at all. And this is moichin, I think, kadnut, the small-mindedness. But there is also always the other possibility where we can have gadlut, so openness, the opposite of constriction, when it opens up and when we're, it's more relaxed, it's more open, it's more free. We can breathe in it, we can be more connected to divine, to Hashem. pretty much. Because in Mochen Kadnut, in the restricted mindset, it's very hard to connect our experiences with God. But when we're in a bigger mindset, Gadlut, then it's much easier to connect with Hashem and to see Hashem in what we're going through and to do the next best thing, and to even see clearly. So that's the time to make decisions, not when you're in constricted mindset, but when you're in this Gadlut time. So this is saying that when you pray, this is a time when you're opening up your mind. This is a time where you can reach this level. And every time you pray, it's not that you pray once and you achieve it once. No, it's every time you pray, you're planting seeds. Miriam has a beautiful meditation and a beautiful teaching that she's given over in Reaching New Heights Through Health and Happiness, her book. I believe it's in there. And I did a meditation on it, I think a 3-minute meditation video. So you can find it if you want. It's based on that on the YouTube channel. And basically, it's what we're doing when we daven, when we do mitzvot, is we're planting seeds in our minds. We're planting the seeds of the Torah that we're learning. We're planting the seeds of all this goodness, even if it's not Torah, it works with even just positivity, without the spiritual force of Kedusha behind it. How much more so with the spiritual force of Kedusha will it work even more? So planting seeds, and eventually we're going to end up with a garden, but the garden doesn't happen it doesn't just happen because we're doing something. Because we're learning right now. It's an accumulation. So now that we're learning, we're planting seeds. When we're going to sleep tonight, before we sleep, we're going to say Shema. And after we say Shema, then Neshama goes up. We go through a process of sowing the seeds, of watering them, of rejuvenating, being with Hashem, getting that full spa experience of Neshama to come back fresh and new. And because we said Shema at night, that gave us the ability to start the growing process of these seeds that we've been holding, to be planted from all of our davening, from all of our Torah learning, so that the next day already we can have sprouting happening. And then we build on it through the Torah that we're learning, through the davening that we do. All of this is times of moichin gadlut. So we're planting seeds in order to reach, to get better constantly, better and better and better and better, to be left with a whole beautiful open space in our mind, a beautiful sacred garden. So here we're learning that prayer is a time of moichin gadlut, and it's a time when we're in direct connection with the higher worlds, that the higher worlds are more open to our connection, to our intellect, to our understanding, to us, pretty much. We are the lowest world, so anything we experience on this world, there's definitely a lot more to it. We're the lowest world, and there are, I think, 4 above us existing as we speak. And anything that we go through in this physical world goes through a chain reaction from above. The interesting thing is the highest world doesn't have any evil in it whatsoever. And yet evil exists in the lower worlds. So what does that mean? If everything exists from the highest realm to begin with, it means that ultimately, even within evil that we experience, even within the judgments, within the harshness that we experience on a day-to-day basis, chas v'shalom, but even the animal soul, it comes from ultimately a holy decree, a holy existence. It doesn't exist on itself. And we've talked about this in the past, and definitely there's more to talk about on it. But but I think that's really beautiful and it's interesting. So can you imagine if we can more and more plant these seeds, more and more reach moichen of gadlut, to see what a bigger picture it is, by trying to connect with the higher realms, with Hashem, opening ourselves up willingly for this process, understanding, coming to Hashem with humility, saying, Hashem, I know I see only the end. I see only the very last chain reaction. So I know that I'm not seeing with the full perception of what this goodness is for me, of what your decree is for me in this time. So having that bittul to ask him, to accept him, to ask him for his help, that you want to open your eyes and see. I remember a lot of I used to do I do hippododot. I used to, when I started doing hippododot, it used to be every day I would, and it's the reason I'm mentioning it is because it was so helpful for me to go through this experience. It's amazing that if you're doing hippododot constantly, like every day, I love to write to Hashem on a piece of paper or in my notebook, in my diary, and find a beautiful place, outdoors in nature, and come to it. And if you use the same place most of the time or every time, then it has a special energy that you've already purified, and it's your space now, and it's much easier to get into the groove. But just to come and write to Hashem, dear Hashem, and share with him where you're at today in this moment, what's coming to you, what's on your mind, what issues have you been going through, where do you feel constricted in your moichin, and what difficulties are you facing physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and you just have the best partner in the entire world, the best therapist that costs no money, and he is always waiting for you. He sets a time aside. I love when Miriam told me that. He sets aside time for you, shacharis, mincha, maariv, kriyat shema, lamita. He sets a time 4 times a day for us. It's like getting the most sought out therapist, to they want to see you. They're open and available for you. Can you imagine how much they would be bogged down with like no availability on their calendar, and yet Hashem puts time aside for you. So it's up to you if you want to take that time, if you want to use it. And part of the davening obviously is the hippododot. And I found this to be extremely helpful in realizing how constricted my mindset is, that what I'm dealing with, when I put it on a piece of paper, and admit to Hashem, this is everything I'm feeling right now, and these are my issues, and I know that I'm only seeing with my human perspective, with my human eyes, and I know that everything comes from you. Everything's here for a reason. Everything's here for my growth. Please help me to be open to that, to see that, to change in the way that you want me to change, to see in the way that you want me to see, and to live my life for my neshama, that when I'm done living this life, it'll be, my neshama will have received all of its tikkunim, have reached the higher levels, not have to go through the world again, like be as perfect, to be as perfect as possible for my neshama, not for me, but for this neshama that exists even without this world. So doing that, no matter what I'm going through, really would help me to be on another wavelength, on another level. Like even after doing this, for half an hour, 5 minutes, whatever it was that I could give at the time. And I had to build up to it. But it was the best experiences. And it's exactly like this, coming out with moichin gadlut, not having to know the answers, but not being alone, not being in this constricted space, accepting the eternal the divine illumination, that it doesn't have to be my answers. I know it comes from Hashem, and I know that I'm connected with him, and I know that he's here taking care of me. And then the next week, I realized how, oh, all those issues got sorted. Wow, like everything wasn't as big as it seemed to be at the time. And I'm more in line with my goals, with my beliefs, with my purpose, because of it all, because of turning to Hashem in that moment. So I think it's such a gift, davening. And this is saying that when the Benoni has this this time when he's davening, when he's doing hippodadot, when he's saying the words of the prayer, doing his meditations, contemplations, connecting his mind, his chachma bina da'at with Hashem through his Torah learning that he's infusing into his davening, his imagery that he's bringing in, contemplating, meditating with slowness, with realness. And then this is a time where he's not, he doesn't have to struggle against his yetzer, against his animal soul. Like this is where has moichin gadlut, because he's no longer alone, connected to this lowest realm, the lower world. He's now connected to the higher realms, and this is like where he loves to be, where he wants to be. Some people can pray the entire day. Like it's for a reason. It's a beautiful space to be in. And so with that, I not sure how we're doing for time. I think we may read a bit more, just a little bit more, and then we'll start a meditation. So then, during the recital of Shema or during prayer, the Benoni binds his chabad, his intellectual faculties consisting of chachma, bina, and da'at, to Hashem, meditating deeply on the greatness of the blessed Ein Sof, and arousing through this meditation a burning love of Hashem in the right part of his heart. Because as we explained in previous chapters, the meditation on God's greatness arouses love of him within one's heart. Wow. This love in turn leads the Benoni to desire to cleave to Hashem by means of fulfilling the Torah and its commandments out of love. The realization that only the fulfillment of Torah and mitzvot will fulfill his desire to become one with Hashem channels the Benoni's love into a desire to observe Torah and mitzvot. This arousal of love for Hashem and its accompanying resolve to adhere to Torah and mitzvot, and thereby to cleave to Hashem, is the essential subject of the Shema, which the biblical commandment, the mitzvah d'oraita, enjoins us to recite. Likewise, the rabbinically ordained blessings which precede the Shema are a preparation enabling us to fulfill that which we recite in the Shema, as explained elsewhere. At such a time, during the Shema prayer, when the love of Hashem burns in the heart of the Benoni, the evil in the left part of his heart, the animal soul's principal area of manifestation, is subjected to and is nullified before the goodness, before the love of Hashem, which spreads into the right part of the heart, where the divine soul is manifest, from the Chabad faculties in the brain, which are bound in meditation to the greatness of the blessed Ein Sof. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Wow. We'll just read a little bit more. Contemplating God's greatness with the three intellectual faculties, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, chachma, bina, and da'at, arouses and diffuses a love of Hashem in the right part of the heart, right? The right part of the heart being the palace of the godly soul. So this arousal of love causes the evil of the animal soul to be nullified in the good of the divine soul, which now pervades the heart. So remember, when we're giving ourselves this holy time to contemplate, to meditate, to be one with Hashem in our mind, then the more we're meditating, the more we're doing this, the more we're feeding through our, all of this goodness into the right part of our heart. And as we fill it up more and more and more, it comes to overspill like a goblet that overflows. But what happens with the overflow? It moves into the other ventricle of the heart, moves into the left side of the heart where the animal soul resides, in the palace of the animal soul. And so what does that do? It actually changes how we feel. It changes the animal soul. It changes and gets rid of all the hard shells, all the barriers, all the pain walls, all the coarseness of the animal soul altogether. It doesn't even have to be what the animal soul is feeling in this moment. It's a change that happens even if you're not focused on something in particular within your animal soul, because by getting rid of the shells of the animal soul, all this, small little issues that we go through become resolved as well. Like the midot of lusting, overeating, overindulging, or other things, indulging in anything in the material world, sadness, depression, anger, fire, resentment, restricting in a bad way, loose mouth, no filter, no substance, meaninglessness. So all of this automatically, naturally becomes less coarse, becomes more refined, just by doing this, just by arousing the love of Hashem in our intellect, allowing this through meditation. Remember, meditation is the bridge from the head to the heart that goes down the neck. So it's the bridge, meditation, contemplation, allowing your mind to sit with, to associate, to understand, to grasp, to wonder and marvel at Hashem. So by doing that, and remember, when we're in prayer, when we're in Shema Amida, when we're praying, davening to Hashem, we're accessing even the higher level for our Chachma Bina and Da'at to attach to, the higher realms, what's coming, more the root source of what we're dealing with in this world. So we can be attached to that. Imagine that connection, like right up in Shemayim, higher, coming straight down into our head, into our Chachma Bina Da'at, coming down through our meditation, getting absorbed, getting chewed up in our mind, and accessing, slowly coming down into our heart, the right part of the heart where the godly soul also resides. Then with all this love that's evolving, this desire for Hashem, this godliness, the giver of goodness, the creator of everything, coming into all of this love is overfilling into the left part of the heart where the animal soul resides. The animal soul, which can be prickly and dark and coarse, but just naturally through this process, he's becoming more refined, more lighter. This is how he gets cleaned. This is how, as a diamond gets cleaned from a rough stone to a beautiful shining diamond. This is part of his process of rubbing off all the dirt. And isn't it amazing that you don't have to focus on the negative? This is just from godliness, from positivity. So during the time of prayer, therefore, when the Benoni arouses his love of Hashem through meditation, his animal soul is inactive and he feels no inclination for physical pleasures. Thus, during prayer, the Benoni's divine soul is his undisputed sovereign, as the Alter Rebbe stated above. So this is who he wants to be. This is who he is. And the sovereign of his godly soul is undisputed in this time. But this state of affairs lasts only for the duration of the spiritually charged time of prayer. However, after prayer, when the state of sublimity of the intellect of the Ein Sof, blessed is he, departs, i.e., when the spiritual illumination engendered by prayer ceases, the evil of the animal soul in the left part of the heart reawakens, and he, the Benoni, once again feels a desire for lusts of this world and its delights, since the evil of the Benoni's animal soul remains undiminished even after prayer, as the yetzer Rabbi will explain shortly. Maybe we'll leave it there. Basically, what we're taught is this is a process. This isn't something that we reach and achieve just like that. It's a process of reaching a higher level and going through the experiences and, maybe going back a few steps, but also continually coming to reach more and more and more, higher and higher, higher. We have so many opportunities to come to Hashem. It doesn't matter how low we get or how constricted we can feel. We can always reach higher. So what we're saying, like what the yetzer Rabbi is saying is, yes, even after a person has had such an incredible time of prayer and the time of gadlut, and everything they see is completely changed, as soon as they finish their prayer, it's, all of their negative passions can resurface, almost as if you never did daven to begin with, as if you never reached a higher spiritual experience. And then you think to yourself, wow, I must have done something wrong. I was in such a good holy space. Why am I so easily triggered, easily traumatized, easily losing my temper? All my issues are coming up tenfold, maybe. And the yetzer Rabbi says that's completely normal. Do not judge yourself by it. Don't think of yourself as bad or having done wrong. It's completely normal. What happens is, for the amount of time that you're praying, that you're connected with Hashem in this specific time, you're getting constantly like charged up with the open worlds of the higher realms. But when you finish praying, that's, that charge up stops, like it goes back. Now it's just you with Hashem still, but a different experience. And we'll go even deeper into that because Miriam does explain more deeper with teachings of the Rabbi Rashab and the other Chabad Rebbes. But basically, you need to have compassion for yourself, that you reached a high level for sure, and you're in the process of getting higher and higher as long as you keep coming to recharge. So don't hate on yourself if you're acting less than what you were experiencing just a moment before when you were davening. And we'll have just now, so one thing that Miriam teaches us in CBTT is, as soon as you finish davening, seal it up with Torah learn some Torah, because the Torah comes into us and it recharges and it helps to change the animal soul and refine him so that he actually wants goodness. So that process takes learning with your mouth, with your voice, with your as much as you use your body in Avodas Hashem, in reading and learning Torah, then the more effect it has on you to continue and last after you've davened, after you've learned. So that is a really great help to keeping the higher levels that you've received more and more. So maybe we'll just leave it there, and I'll invite you to gently close your eyes with me. Allow your mind and your body to resonate with and release any tensions that may be felt. Any excess, any intensity, any concentration of tension anywhere in your body physically. Breathe into it, resonate, and allow it to continue moving forth as you breathe out. Really helps if you contract your muscles for a count of 3. Connect with any tension and let go. Just allow yourself to drop. And then you really feel that release. Do this with all parts of your body, whatever you feel you want to do. You can do this during your days. No one has to know, but you'll feel the difference. And imagine doing it in your mind, where you're actively constricting and then breathing out and feeling what it feels like to release in the absence of constriction. Moving to your heart, whatever emotional barriers, walls, pains, experiences, concentrations of tension in your animal soul. Breathing in to constrictedness and then breathing out. Now it's just soften. Now, with your mind's eye, allow yourself to imagine walking into this beautiful garden. A garden that's just yours. As you notice when you turn around, you notice it's a special place with specific entry only to positive. Whatever that looks like. Maybe it's a portal, maybe it's a beautiful doorway, whatever it is, and you realize that only goodness can enter here. You're safe. Now maybe with your bare feet, you're walking on this fresh grass. You smell it. It smells wonderful. As you're walking through, you see all these beautiful flowers, this beautiful garden, all sorts. And you notice a sign that reads, "Your mind is your garden." Plant the seeds that you want to see. Think the thoughts that you want to grow in your garden. Wow. And excitedly, you see all these seeds, these packages, and you take them and you start planting. Start planting this goodness, this holiness. Start thinking with a positive perspective, with a holy perspective. And you start growing these trees, these plants, these flowers, these bushes and shrubs, fruits and vegetables, whatever you want. And imagine walking through it. Then as you're planting one seed, imagine knowing that you're taking this little seed, putting it into the ground and covering it up, then watering it with the knowledge that for now it's in the dark, but soon with the nourishment it gets, it will grow into a beautiful flower. And you look up and you see all these blossoming flowers around you. Incredible smell, freshness, incredible beauty. You feel so much better just being in its presence, even. And you know that someday you'll be like that. You'll be like the blooming flower. And you will feel great, and you will make others feel great just by you blooming and being you. Knowing that the seed that you're planting will be soon just like this flowering flower. So with a prayer, let's end with asking Hashem that may this space, this beautiful experience that we've just experienced, may it stay ingrained in our minds and in our hearts, that it should be a safe place where we can continue to come as we need. Here we can connect with Hashem, we can connect where it's just goodness, just positivity that comes through. That we'll always feel safe here, and that we'll be able to plant our seed, plant our person through doing Torah and mitzvot, learning, praying, and continue to nourish it. And remember, with bittul, with humility, that we are only human in Hashem's world, and that He's always here for us if we reach out. Just like the Benoni, let's once again take refuge, seek refuge with Hashem in our davening, in our learning, this beautiful garden where we're planting our seeds to flower, for the purpose of flowering, of blossoming, of sharing goodness. So may we be more readily able to be a blossoming flower with our loved ones, with those closest to us, for ourselves as well. And act more, be more like the Benoni, that no matter what, we'll have good midot in all of our interactions, and work on ourselves and heal with Kedusha. So gently breathing in and coming down, coming back to the present, gently opening your eyes with gratitude to Hashem for this life that He's given you, your gift, your message of love for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this week. Hope to see you next.